Hey everybody. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about perceptual errors. The thing is our brains are actually really amazing and really smart, and they recognize a lot of things around us that we're not even conscious or aware of. Nonetheless, sometimes these amazing brains of ours do make errors in perception. Mostly due to the fact that because there is so much input coming in, our brains are sort of designed to simplify information. Imagine if you had to think about how to open a door every time you approached a door, where you had to like consciously think, I'm going to reach, turn, pull, step through, pull it closed. You don't think of that. It just happens. So you just see a doorknob and you know how to respond. It makes a shortcut for you. So it is really great for that, that our brains can kind of make these quick decisions and make it happen. But sometimes it leads to mistakes, and that's these perceptual errors that I'm talking about. So here's some common ones. It's not an all-inclusive list of perceptual errors, but I think we recognize many of these. First, stereotyping, that we kind of assume we know what one person is like or what something is like because it's part of a broader group. And we know how that can get us into trouble making those assumptions. Second, the halo effect is where we let like one good trait about something make us think everything about that is the same way. This happens sometimes, like if we visit a place and on that day we visit it, the weather's perfect and everything's perfect, and we think it's just that place is perfect when really we just happen to have one good day there. We do this with people sometimes too, where we have a good experience with them and then assume that everything about them is good. And we do the opposite, which is called the horn effect, where you assume one bad trait means that an entire person is bad or an entire place or event or whatever is bad. And if when we think about it, it's common sense that people or places or experiences are more complex than any one thing. And, I don't love being judged negatively on my worst day or my worst moment. For some reason, I do seem to love being judged positively on my best one. But neither one of those two things is fair. Another common perceptual error is what's called an attribution error or a fundamental attribution error, where we attribute or we base our what we've decided somebody's character is um, based on something that is erroneous. Often this happens when we know somebody, uh, you know, only a little bit about them, and we don't like the way they behave. So we assume that, that they just choose to be a horrible, bad person and don't realize that maybe they have something going on with them at that moment, or maybe something more than just at that moment, something bigger that's impacting their behavior. But this can go for not just people, but experiences and other things. Again, we often make decisions based on limited information and quick judgments, which, if you think about it, is kind of the basis for all these common perceptual errors. And then finally, self-serving bias. We are self-serving. And so when we do something wrong, we tend to think, well, I didn't get a lot of sleep last night, or I had a bad experience. And so we know all of the reasons why we might make bad choices or bad decisions, but we don't know those same things about other people. Um, so we tend to give ourselves a little more credit and a little more grace sometimes than what we extend to others. That being said, sometimes maybe we should add another one on here that's kind of like the self-defeating bias. I'm sure there's a name for it that psychologists come up with, but there are times when we're harder on ourselves or those close to us than we are on people we don't know very well. So I think it's pretty obvious why they matter, mostly because they really damage communication and they damage relationships. Making these assumptions, letting our brains sort of skip the steps of getting to know people, can really make it hard for us to have good relationships and make it hard for us to do good business with people because we assume we know what's driving them when we don't. And it's the kind of thing that we can learn to do better at. So we can recognize we do it, and then we can slow down, get to know people, ask real questions, and that can help us build stronger relationships, which is good, not only in business, but in every part of life. Anyway, so I hope that was interesting and a little bit valuable, at least, to recognize some of the more common perceptual errors we make. And maybe some way, the biggest way, of course, to get past them is just to get to know people better and don't assume based on limited information. Anyway, hope you have a great day.